Hey everybody, welcome to the Keto Mom page. My name is Stephanie and we are going to talk about perfection or the illusion of perfection. What does that look like and what does that mean? So real quick, as you're tuning in, where are you tuning in from? I am tuning in from the lovely Florida. We just got in a little while ago. I'm actually hiding in a bathroom because I've got some kids downstairs. Some are jumped in the pool. Now they're showering. I'm just hiding in here because I had the best lighting. Tomorrow, I'll be outside where the pool is and hopefully the sun is shining. Normally, I tune in from Minnesota. We are in Florida for the next 10 days. Tampa right now, we'll be in West Palm Beach on Saturday. I am very well aware, somebody had said, Stephanie, you brought the cold to Florida. And I said, I think they intended it to be a little bit chillier until the weekend, but the rest of the week is going to be great. So, as you're tuning in, where are you tuning in from? I did not do the morning live this morning because we ended up leaving our house by a little after 6 a.m. And so I did not do a live. And then we just got in after flying and taking our kids out for supper. And we just did a couple things around the city. So I'm going to kind of wrap up this chapter that we were going through. But there's something else that I was listening to some podcasts in the airplane. And I thought we could talk about this tonight. So as you're tuning in, where are you tuning in from? And what did you have for dinner? I had salmon. We went to, what's the place we went to? Oh, J. Alexander's. Has anybody been to J. Alexander's? It's a restaurant. Super, super great. Like deliciously great. So we went to J. Alexander's, had dinner, and our goal to be in Florida is number one, to be out of the cold. Number two, what's great is we can work and homeschool our kids from anywhere. And we have friends down here. So we're just going to have a really great next 10 days. Hopefully we bring back, it gets warm down here and we bring back the warmth to Minnesota. So what did you have for dinner? And I just wanted to say a couple things that I was listening to as I was listening to a podcast. I listened to two podcasts on the airplane. One talked about consistency, the power of consistency. And then the other one was from a pastor. I actually shared it on my stories. So if you check my stories and you go, I think it's at the very end, I listened to a podcast by Erwin McManus, and he talks about what the title was. I wrote it down. What does it take to be great? I think that's what it was. Something about what does it take to be great? I'm actually probably going to talk about that tomorrow. Who watches our dogs? My mother-in-law watches our dogs. So don't worry, they're all being taken care of. It's completely fine. And she loves them. So I listened to a podcast about consistency, and I just wanted to share a couple of things with you. And it was so interesting. He said this. He says, there's an illusion that people think that they need to be perfect. And in order to reach a goal, everything has to be perfect. And therefore, people don't start. Right? How often have you found yourself wanting to start something, but because of X, Y, and Z, it wasn't perfect, it wasn't the certain environment, or the cupboards weren't full of the most perfect foods, or the timing, that you just don't start. And so he said this, he says, listen, being consistent isn't the same as being perfect. There's no perfect. And with social media, it makes it seem like everybody has the perfect life, the perfect environment. They've got better food than I do. They've got a better job, therefore they can eat better. They've got better things in their town. They've got more support, right? A lot of it can be an illusion, or you don't know the struggle somebody else is going through, right? I want you to know this saying. I just want you to think of this as you're finishing this month and diving into a new month. If you have already quit on your goals, I want you to know something. The only way you fail is if you quit. So if you get back up and you grab a hold of what you were doing, you did not fail, right? Number two, I want you to think of this. Well, besides the only way you fail is if you quit. Don't mess up good for perfect. There's no perfect. There is good. There's better. There's probably a best option in anything that you're doing. So sometimes I'll tell people, if you go out to eat, there's a good, a better, and a best option, right? Or let's just say food in general. This is a good little concept when you're thinking of what to eat. Good, better, best. The best meal or food to eat is probably something that you would make at your home, right? You would know the ingredients. You probably would buy better foods. You're the cook. And so it's an incredible best option. A better option, like let's say you're at somebody else's house, you can take the buns off the burgers, the croutons off the salad, or a good option would be if you go out to eat, there's things like you might not know every ingredient, but you are going to choose the best that you can, right? Salmon and veggies, or a salad, or buns off the burgers. There's always a good or a better or best, and not everything will be the best. Like it's not going to all be organic and all homegrown and all out of your garden, but you get to choose every single day what you eat, if you go to work out, all of those things. Don't mess up good for perfect. That's all I want to say. Don't compare your life to anybody else's. Don't have the illusion that people have this perfect, whatever it is that you're watching. And I want you to focus on your goals. Stay in your lane. I want you to go, all right, I've got this, right? All right, the only way you fail is if you quit. And I want you to know this. If oftentimes we take on an action and we create an identity from this. Is this making sense? I'll give you an example. If I failed at something today, or maybe you failed at something, or something didn't turn out how you wanted it to, instead of saying, shoot, that didn't work out, or I messed up, or yep, not going to do that again. Oftentimes we take it on and we go, I am the failure. I am X, Y, or Z, right? And so what you need to do is instead of claiming that and making it your identity, you are not a failure, right? You learn. It's either you grow or you're going to learn. Either you move forward or you're going to learn and then you're going to keep going, right? So if you don't take on those negative, if you don't take that on and internalize it and then keep it as your identity, you can get back up and keep moving forward. You are not a failure. You may have failed at some things. We all have. We all continue to do that. But it's the people that can get back up and keep moving forward and learn from a mistake, learn from a choice, and keep moving forward with consistent action. They will grow over time, right? So we're wrapping up this month very soon. If you feel like, yep, I already lost my vision, we need to refine it. Hey, I actually dropped my goals back in week 2. We're going to go back and pick them up and we're going to keep going. If you didn't set any goals for this year so far, you need to figure out your why, or what you want. Maybe you don't want anything, but I'm going to guess if you're here, you probably do want something in your life. Let's write it out. Let's get super smart about your goals. Let's get very specific and let's go after them in February. We're not going to wait till February 1st. We're going to start right now. And then also the last thing that he said was this. He said, you have to expect that you will fail. You have to expect. If you think you're going to do this perfect, then guess what? When you do have a slip up, that's what happens is people quit, right? Now, if you already go, I'm not perfect. And if I have a day that I don't do what I want to do, if my morning doesn't start out how I want it to start, guess what? Get back up, control your EQ, keep moving forward, and don't do it tomorrow, right? We learn and we move forward. So I love listening to podcasts. Do any of you listen to podcasts? And if you do, I'd love for you to share below, what's your favorite podcast? And I think we'll just continue this tomorrow. Actually, the rest of the chapter that we were talking about the law of the ladder. And basically, he was just walking people through the very end of the chapter on things that he wanted to tell people. He said, I need you to know that people matter. I need you to know that if you want to have a growth mindset, that you need to have patience. You need to have passion. You need to have perspective. You need to remember the big picture. So on those days that you're like, this really stinks, you need to remember your why. You need to recognize that that everyone has weaknesses. We all have things that we're working on. You need to be leadable, teachable, and coachable. This is what we say to our kids or anybody on our team, or even my husband will say this to me, or I'll say it to him. If you have people in your life that can coach you, or if you are the coach and you want to give somebody advice, first of all, if your goal is to grow, you need to be leadable, teachable, coachable. And if your goal is to also help your family or other people around you, here's a great question to ask before you give advice. Are you open to coaching? Are you open to a suggestion? And I would say the same thing to you. I actually should say that every time I get on a live. Are you open to coaching? Actually, I should say that. All right. Are you open to coaching? Yes or no? Do you give me permission or not permission? Let me tell you, that will save you in arguments. That will save you in marriage conversations. Hey, are you open to coaching? Nope, not right now. I'm definitely not in the mindset. Or yeah, I actually am. And when you are open to it, you will grow faster. It's actually an incredible, incredible sentence you should put in your mind to use, especially on your kids. We need to be grateful. We need to be serving others. He says you need to strive to finish. You don't just start. You finish strong. You don't quit. You finish. There was one more thing I was going to say before we start the new chapter. Oh, here it is. He says this. Here is a simple rule of thumb, a guide for your behavior. Ask yourself what you want people to do for you, and then grab the intuition. No. And do, I was like, what is that word? I'm sorry, initiative. I was looking at a couple words. I'm like, wait, where am I at? I definitely don't need readers. Guys, I went to the eye doctor and I'm like, hey, can you please check my eyes? And he laughed at me. He's like, why don't you try these little readers? We are praying over my eyes and believing full healing. If you knew my whole vision story, I don't like to talk about it because I don't like to give words to it. But I went to the eye doctor and I'm like, I need to check my eyes. And he's like, no, just use like a 0.5 or a 1. And I was like, oh, no, I'm not doing that. So now I'm like this. I'm going to reread that for you. Ask yourself what you want people to do for you and then grab the initiative and do it for them. Sometimes I had this thought with my husband and then I'm going to let you go. I said, you know what's so interesting about social media is, I'll just tell you guys my story really quick. And if you don't want to listen, you don't have to. You know what's so interesting is how do I start? I was sitting back and I told my husband, I said, there's a fine line on social media from sharing your life because you were excited and then not wanting people to feel bad. Does that make sense? Some people don't. I said, my biggest thing I would love to help people learn, this is just one of many. I love talking about food. I love talking about taking care of your body. I love helping people with their mindset. I love helping people with their emotions. I actually love a lot of conversations, and one of them is awareness, right? So for myself, I said, there's this awareness piece that some people don't have, right? When they share everything online, you just never want to make people feel bad, but there's a line between like, I share it because I love what I'm doing with my family. And then there's things where I'm like, oh, I don't want to share that because I don't want to make people feel bad. And then there's also a realization that everybody has their own challenges in life. Is this making sense? And so even though I just want to give you this, like, I feel like so many people fall into this trap of comparison. And I want you to know something. For example, I share a lot of our life online. And a lot of people don't know what we went through for 10 years prior to getting where we are today. And it was, we never went without, we never didn't have something, but like mentally and raising 4 babies and being away from our family and working in the ministry, like there was really, really hard years. And so I actually started sharing my life on social media probably 10 years ago because I used it as a scrapbook of my life. It was really for me. I didn't know I would maybe inspire other people or help people even with their health and fitness journey. I didn't know that. But there are things that I'm really working toward, or really working, like in my mind, I'm like, do I share more? Does it make people feel bad? How do people perceive others online? Does it even matter, right? Do I care what people think? And so I just wanted people to understand something. You don't know how long it took the people that you're watching to get where they are today, right? Even if you just watch people with their fat loss journey, you don't know the years and years of struggles and challenges they had with food or addictions that maybe you see those, you see those transformation pictures and you're like, oh my goodness, she or he lost 120 pounds. They lost a whole person. How did that happen? I'm struggling with my 15 or my 30. You don't know, right? You don't know. And so I just want to encourage you that you are amazing and you can do it. And you have everything that it takes inside of you. And it is finding the determination. I actually am really excited to share a couple of things that I learned from the other podcast. But my note, you guys want to see my notes? These are my notes. Look, I grabbed a random sheet of paper. I can't even barely read them, but I can read them. But the podcast was incredible. I shared it in my story. You can click on the link in the stories and listen to the podcast. And I hope it would to move you like it moved me. But it really, I'll give you the very quick overview. He talked about being great. And how does somebody become great? And what does that look like? And I loved what he said. He says, opportunities fall empty when given to people who do not have determination. I love that quote. He also talked about, oh man, I loved this. He said, how often have you ever said, I'm really curious, how often have you guys ever said this? Oh, if it's supposed to happen, it will happen. If it's going to happen, it will. I'm just going to sit back and let it happen. If it's going to happen, God will allow it. It's fine. It's fine, right? Yep. If it's meant to be, it will be. Have you ever said any of those before? And man, he attacked those sayings and he said, listen, oftentimes people say the word destiny because I don't like that. I like you are called to greatness. You have a calling on your life, but you know what that means? It's like a call. Like I'm calling you. You've got to take action and go after it. Destiny doesn't fall in your lap. Nothing is destined to happen. You don't just get lucky even with your health. You've got to work at it, right? And so he said, the thing that irritates him the most, this pastor, he said, I'm so sick of people blaming what will be, will be. If it's meant to be, it will happen. No. You have talents and gifts. You need determination. You need discipline. You need to have focus to go after what you want to go after. It doesn't just happen. You do what you can do and you let God do the rest. You do the natural, he does the supernatural, but you don't just get to sit on your hands and hope that you get healthy or hope that your health changes or you lose the 50 pounds. You don't get to do that. It doesn't just happen. The podcast was incredible. And so he just says, take responsibility, take ownership. What do you want? What do you want? I'll tell you this, there's so many things that I want and I take so many notes and then I'm like, I need to get specific. He said, you know what? There's people who can and there's people who will. And those people might get to their goals, but he goes, it's the people that must. Like there's gotta be a sense of urgency, a must. I must lose this weight. I must get healthy. I must do it. Do you have a sense of urgency in you? Do you have the determination to do it no matter what? And the last thing I'll say is this. If there's also an aspect of, you should really just listen to the podcast. But he said, what's so funny is oftentimes he'll say, I'll ask people what motivates them, what inspires them. And they'll say, I say this too. I'm like, you should get up every day. You should read a book. You should listen to a podcast. You should listen to something to get your mindset right. And then there's also something else. If you don't have, you've got to be able to motivate yourself. You've got to be able to inspire yourself. Why do you do what you do or why do you not do it? And then oftentimes people ask me, why do you work so hard? My husband asks me this all the time. He's like, Stephanie, you don't need anything. It took us years to work on our finances. We went through Dave Ramsey. We are debt free. We worked really hard for 10 years. We really are great in our finances. We have an incredible marriage. We've worked on our relationships with our kids. I love my business. Like, truly, we are living a life today of the seeds that we planted from the time that we got married. So sometimes he's like, why are you working so hard? Why do you care if all the messages are answered before you go to bed? And I said, you know what? Because I love it. Like, I love inspiring people. I love answering questions. I don't need to listen to somebody else to be motivated. I'm going to do it no matter what. Even if I am having a bad day, even if I don't feel like doing it, if somebody or if something happens, I'm still going to do the things I want to do. I'm still going to work on my business. I'm still going to have conversations. I'm still going to do the things I want to do in my life no matter what. It's just in me, right? And if you can't get off the couch, if you do not inspire yourself eventually, if you can't find something inside of you, that's what you need to work on first. This. If it's that I need to let go of the past, if it's a root of bitterness, if it's anger, you need to let it go. You might have to have a conversation, give somebody a phone call, write it on a piece of paper and burn it. You might have to, maybe you might have to speak to a counselor, right? Whatever it is that you need to do to get some help so that you can go, I'm done with the past and I'm moving forward. I'm not going to blame anybody else. I know what I want and I'm going to get it no matter what. That's what I would say people need to focus on. Now, again, I will say you can listen to all of the keto tips and tricks and recipes. Today, I fasted in the morning. I drank my water. I drank my ketones. I had eggs for breakfast at the airport. I just had a salmon for dinner. I can tell you what I eat. I can give you food ideas. I can tell you all of those things. I can tell you this. My daughter wanted to track her food, so she's using Carb Manager, and she says it's an incredible app. She's like, hey, Mom, this app is so easy to use. Go tell all of your friends. I'm like, perfect. I always use my FitnessPal. So she's using Carb Counter. She's like, I want to see how much protein I'm eating because she's working on building muscle. And so we can tell you all those tips. We can tell, if you message me and ask me a question about food, I will give you the answer. But I can't change your mindset. I can help, but you've got to do the work. You've got to get up in the morning with a positive attitude, or choose to have a positive attitude, to have a grateful heart and say what you're thankful for, to have a perspective of I get to do this, not I have to do this. You are going to choose to read something or listen to somebody to get your mindset right. You're going to choose to go to the gym. You have to choose what food you put in your mouth. We can just guide you, but you have to do the action. And you can do it. So with all of that, I hope you guys have an incredible night. Thank you for tuning in as always. We will catch back up on the book tomorrow morning. And then we're actually going to be coming to you here in we'll probably start this weekend or next week with some fun cooking lives. The girls want to cook with me. So I said, why don't we just do a live and you guys can help cook and we can answer any questions you guys have. So I hope you have an incredible night. We'll talk to you soon.